and Douglas is canceled. Karen Gillan shines as she plays opposite Hugh Bonneville, I guess that's how you say his name, in what is a mini-series about a veteran journalist who might get canceled due to an off-color joke. So to summarize the first and only season, because this is a mini-series, Douglas is canceled focuses on Douglas, who is a news journalist who's been in the game for decades. But unfortunately, because Douglas at a wedding recently said something that's either sexist or misogynistic and gets called out for it on Twitter, so comes the worry that one tweet by somebody who only has a couple of hundred followers can potentially end this man's career. Now, because Douglas is a veteran and he has a very popular show, Live at 6, everyone from his producer Toby, his agent Bentley, his wife who is an editor at a newspaper, to his co-presenter Madeline, they all tried to help him navigate the situation and potentially deal with being called out in case a video or anything else comes out. So getting to the review section, top level highlight has to be Karen Gillan as Madeline, the co-presenter, and I want to assume most people know Karen Gillan either from Guardians of the Galaxy or I believe she was also on Doctor Who. But I would say when it comes to her character Madeline, you get more so what you saw in the movie Duel that she was in, and pretty much it feels like a culmination of all her experience in her almost 2-decade career at this point. For as a lead actress of the show, someone who questionably is on Douglas's side, there's a lot of back and forth here. I would even say the way that she presents Madeline kind of gives you like a Paris Hilton vibe in terms of, is she someone who is trying to play dumb and innocent in order to kind of make people feel comfortable, or is this her way of getting people to kind of lower their armor a bit so when she goes for the jugular, it's quick, easy, and flawless? It's hard to say, but what's beautiful about the way that Gillan and also the writer crafted her is that there's always this back and forth. And even with you seeing how she gets crafted, while as a child she would watch Douglas on television, then when she gets older you see that she can take notes of what Sheila does in terms of dirty tricks of journalism. And even her learning from Toby what people are capable of, all of this leads to a person who just, I don't know if I can do her service in terms of what needs to be said without giving away what happens. So get into the next highlight. Towards the end of the season, Madeline has a conversation with Douglas, and it kind of pushes a generalization which kind of triggers for Douglas that he's an exception. He gives a sort of not all men type of response to her giving a general statement. But one of the things that the series doesn't push hard but definitely puts a seed in your head about is that if you're an exception to being within a populace or community, why aren't you holding the people around you accountable? Yes, Douglas is apparently a good guy. He may drink a bit and tell some potentially off-color jokes, but he doesn't cheat on his wife. He seems to have some relationship with his daughter Claudia, so he's not the worst, right? Yet, for some reason, he surrounds himself with people who are absolute trash. His agent Bentley would drop him in a second over a scandal and then try to get someone like Madeline and represent her just so that he can keep his pockets lined and going. And this is despite all the years that Douglas and him have been together and the fact that Douglas dropped him and brought him back up. Then, of course, you have Sheila, who outright has said she has taken down good people just as much as bad people, seemingly for the sake of keeping her newspaper in circulation and, of course, to keep the ad dollars up. And then Toby, between his willingness to bend the truth to whatever narrative he thinks should be out there, to him not being against the idea of a casting couch. Yes, Douglas seems like a saint amongst these people, but if you're a saint amongst the devils, does that really make you seem like such a good person? Yes, we all need to have a mixed group of friends because you never know when you may need somebody who's willing to do something messed up. But at the same time, you can't come out clean if you're dealing with trash all the time. So getting to the next highlight, another thing we liked about Madeline is when it comes to who she is, it's not this flawless character who you see is able to match wits with anybody, is one of the smartest person in the room, and deserves everything that's coming to her because she's so ambitious and isn't trying to necessarily backstab people in the process. As shown with Madeline, she recognizes what the old guard is capable of, and when it comes to certain things, she'll play the game, but when it comes to other things, she's not for the BS. But with that in mind, and I believe in her conversations with Toby, either in episodes 2 or 3, the topic of feminism comes up. And you can see she has complicated feelings about it. And a part of me kind of relates it to what Jules said in Euphoria during those special episodes in terms of the complicated relationship someone like Madeline has with this title and what comes with it. Because Madeline, she's supposed to be a representative, she's supposed to be a role model, she's supposed to be championing feminism, breaking glass ceilings and all that, but something about that kind of gives her the ick. The idea that she has to be this soldier, a champion, where she's just trying to do her job, be one of the best, and not have to be kind of put into some type of category about it. Like even in terms of the whole idea of feminism, she rather human equality rather than focus just on the equality of women, because then the idea is, at least during her conversation with Toby, for her to be equal means a man has to give her such a privilege, and that's not what she's looking for. She wants equal opportunity. She wants the same right to have an interview with somebody and it not become something that's worthy of a Me Too conversation or story. And she also doesn't want to be defined by something like that. And overall, it's another one of those examples when it comes to Madeline and Karen Gillan that we can touch upon it, dance around it so we don't go too much into spoilers, but in order to fully get the effect of it, you have to watch the show. And perhaps the best example of why you need to watch this is that in the season finale, between Douglas and Madeline, there's this rehearsal interview because he has this 90-minute interview about his career coming up, and that tweet about him saying something's sexist and misogynist, it has really snowballed to the point where he's not going to be able to just play it down anymore. Somebody's going to confront him. And so Madeline sets up a rehearsal interview so that he can prepare for it, and I don't want to say the scene was masterful, but I do feel like without having a lot of good, notable performances for quite some time, what happened between those two actors was definitely something that really put me in this place of this is not only a good show, but Karen Gillan is possibly underestimated, underutilized, and definitely is someone who needs to be taken note of, because everything pretty much builds up to that rehearsal interview, and when I tell you it delivers to create one of the best season finales, it just really makes me appreciate so much what miniseries do over seasons and seasons of shows, or series as a whole, that seemingly don't know when to quit. So instead, they take all that was good about the show and just keep siphoning off of it, even when there's barely anything left. Getting to the last highlight is just the comedy. And while we've given a lot of credit to Madeline and Karen Gillan, I think this is the point where we have to switch focus and really put some spotlight on Alex Kingston as Sheila, because honestly, Karen Gillan doesn't really shine into episode 2. In episode 1, Sheila was the person who came off as a hook, and it's because she brings a sense of comedy to the show. And that's just not to say that this is just a bunch of drama and then Sheila's kind of like a comic relief. There are comedic moments, but 9 times out of 10, Sheila's somewhat involved. For if it isn't Sheila dealing with her underling, it's her dealing with Douglas, her dealing with her daughter Claudia, who she has a very volatile relationship with. And then Madeline, those two go back and forth, I want to say in episode 3 or 4. And they have a moment which made me laugh out loud, which is not something I do too often, and I go to stand-up comedy shows sometimes. So let me tell you, it was funny, it was notable, and I would even say, when it comes to Gillan, when it comes to her, I would say a lot of her scenes kind of push whoever she's in a scene with to be more of a supporting character rather than somebody that's on her character's level and is supposed to be treated as equals. But with Kingston, I feel like she plays with her scene partner, so there's a good back and forth that both can benefit, and it makes it so that as much as you appreciate what Gillan does, it's like a different realm that Kingston is in that you also have to appreciate. So even if they don't exist in the same kingdom, for lack of a better term, they're both definitely the ones who are really showing up and showing out when it comes to this series, which leads us to the on defense topics. And the first one is, this is a 4-episode series rather, and unfortunately, it's filled with strong characters for the most part. Sheila on her own, with her being a newspaper editor who used to be a journalist, who has this very weird relationship with her underling, and how she talks about how she handles the news, it makes you want her to have a miniseries of her own. And the same goes for Toby. Recently divorced within a couple of years, seemingly is a producer who has this active worry about himself being canceled, else being put into a Me Too article. There's a lot going on there that you wish to explore. And I would even say when it comes to Bentley, who is an agent, gay man, but definitely has a skewed moral compass, to something you can see tapped into when it comes to that character. And adding Douglas, then Madeline, and it can feel sometimes like a bit of a talent overload with not everybody getting equal focus. And while it's frustrating in a good way, at the same time, with this being 4 episodes and probably no chance of there being a second season whatsoever, it's kind of sad that we won't get a chance to see more of these characters. Which leads to one character who I'm not going to miss, and that's Claudia. Now, on a positive side, you can kind of look at Claudia and sort of see her as like a young Madeline. Madeline grew up on Douglas. That was her hero. She wanted to be like him. Claudia doesn't necessarily want to be like her dad, but she does hold her dad in high regard. Yet, like Madeline, she is starting to see a shift in her father, and having to reckon with that is a difficult thing to do. But while you can put that positive spin on her and kind of push this whole coming of age, learning your father's not this sweet old man, but he has this dark side that you don't get to see. There's also this Claudia, who's this annoying social justice warrior type who, for the most part, is going to get on your nerves. Whether it's her just looking for a reason to argue with her mother, her making it clear she will screw over her dad and cancel him no matter what if he is found guilty of anything. She gets a reaction out of you, which I guess should be seen as a good thing, but at the same time, if it almost always is an annoyance and not a love to hate type of feeling. So I don't know if getting a reaction out of you if it's something negative is necessarily a good thing. But overall, when it comes to Douglas is canceled, I'm only aware of the BAFTAs when it comes to what the UK does in terms of awards, but no matter what the award shows are in the UK, England, and also Europe, all I know is Karen Gillan deserves whatever award she can get nominated for. And I do hope that between Netflix, maybe HBO, I could possibly see this on Paramount Plus. I hope that one of them pick this up so that it doesn't become like a lot of good miniseries and gets trapped in the UK, but can get a global audience to see what these actors have performed and what I believe his name is Stephen Moffat. I want to say that's how you pronounce his name. I want people to also see his work too because he's fairly consistent at delivering, at least from what I remember of the stuff that I've seen of his.